By December 1991, the Soviet Union will collapse. On February 1st, 2003, the space shuttle Columbia will crash. Around 2020, a pandemic will occur that will lock the entire world in their homes. And by 2030, the entire world's technology will be under control by artificial intelligence. These are all incidents the CIA knew about 40 years ago. That too with a machine that was made with technology from another world. A device so powerful it could gaze into tomorrow. A machine that tore open the fabric of possibility, revealing futures we were never meant to see. They called it Project Looking Glass. And, according to whistleblowers, it was built not by human hands alone, but using technology recovered from the UFO. A machine that showed the future, showed multiple futures of the same event. And perhaps that is why this project was later closed, because whoever saw the future through this machine started getting scared of the future and started becoming mentally disturbed. Tonight, we journey into one of the strangest and most controversial projects ever whispered in the past. A machine said to predict wars, collapse, and the final fate of humanity itself. To understand Project Looking Glass, we must go back to where all the threads of conspiracy seem to begin.
Roswell, New Mexico, 1947. When an object fell from the sky, the U.S. military declared it a weather balloon. Behind the veil of secrecy, reverse engineering teams were formed under a new structure, what insiders later referred to as Majestic 12. Their mission? To unlock the physics of non-human craft. To understand propulsion systems that bent gravity, light, and perhaps time itself. By the late 1950s, researchers allegedly discovered fragments that behaved unlike any known material, crystalline alloys capable of generating localized distortions in electromagnetic fields. These fragments were stored at S4, a sub-facility near Area 51, under the control of defense intelligence agencies. It was here, hidden deep beneath the Nevada sands, that Project Looking Glass would one day be born. But before the technology came the theory. Throughout the 1960s, secret physics programs reportedly explored the nature of zero-point energy, quantum resonance, and space-time curvature. They believed that gravity wasn't just a force. It was a wave, one that could be manipulated to fold the geometry of space itself. And if space could be folded, so could time. Among those names whispered in connection with these experiments were Dr. Edward Teller, John von Neumann, and others who worked at the intersection of nuclear science and theoretical physics. The goal wasn't travel, not yet, but observation. To build a device that could peer across the boundaries of linear time. A looking glass. The 1970s, according to whistleblowers like Dan Burish, Bill Hamilton, and Bob Lazar, the program's experimental roots began in 1972 to 1973 at S4, a facility near Papoose Lake. The design was allegedly inspired by the gravitational lensing systems found aboard alien craft recovered decades earlier. These ships used rotating disks and plasma containment rings to warp the local space-time field, enabling instantaneous movement and glimpses beyond the present. Reverse engineering teams, working under Project Galileo and Project Sidekick, began adapting components for human use. By 1973, the first Looking Glass prototype was operational. It wasn't a simple machine. Descriptions vary. Some say it resembled a circular chamber with concentric rings, spinning around a core of high-energy plasma. Others describe it as a mirror-like sphere, suspended in a magnetic field. The heart of the system, however, was said to be a lens array made from an alien crystalline material, a structure that, when energized, bent space-time into a temporal bubble. Within this field, operators could observe events across timelines. The first experiments were crude. Scientists fed the system data, coordinates, timestamps, magnetic alignments, and recorded what they saw: shifting images, fragmented voices, and scenes that seemed to move in slow, distorted loops. To some, it was nothing more than interference. To others, it was the future. Early operators reported disorientation, temporal confusion, and vivid hallucinations. Some left the project with fractured memories, unable to distinguish their own lives from visions of alternate timelines. Still, the military pressed on. If the device could show tomorrow, it could change the world today. But how did the looking glass work? At its heart, the system relied on high-energy plasma fields, generated by rotating rings embedded with exotic materials. When energized, these rings created a localized distortion in gravitational frequency, essentially a standing wave that bent the space-time continuum. By carefully tuning this wave using magnetic resonance and harmonic frequencies, the operators could align the field to resonate with specific temporal coordinates. Think of it as tuning a cosmic radio, each frequency representing a probable timeline. The viewing interface was often described as a curved screen or even a spherical field, where images formed like holographic projections. Observers could see landscapes, people, and events, but only as probability constructs, shimmering and unstable. Some reports claim the system was linked to consciousness itself, that the observer's intent or emotional state could influence the images, collapsing the wave function like in quantum mechanics. In other words, the future you saw was shaped by what you expected to find. This blending of physics and psychology made Project Looking Glass both revolutionary and dangerous. By the mid-1980s, several operators allegedly suffered psychological breakdowns. Some became obsessed with the futures they saw. Others claimed to have met their own counterparts, alternate versions of themselves, within the field. The line between observer and participant began to blur. By the 1980s, the Cold War had reached a fever pitch. With nuclear arsenals on hair-trigger alert, intelligence agencies sought any advantage that could tip the balance. And so, Project Looking Glass entered its operational phase. Whistleblower testimonies describe a series of tests where the device was used to view potential outcomes of major global events. The team would pose questions. What happens if we deploy troops here? What if the Soviets launch a strike? What if we sign this treaty? The Looking Glass would then project probabilistic scenarios, visualizations of possible futures, each with its own outcome. Like quantum forecasting, not prediction, but observation of branching timelines. This made Project Looking Glass the ultimate intelligence tool, but it also became a philosophical nightmare, because every question raised a paradox. If you observe the future and act to avoid it, have you changed it? Or was your action already part of the observed timeline? By the 1990s, the program had evolved beyond mere observation. According to Dan Burish, a microbiologist allegedly connected to the program, the Looking Glass showed that future probabilities diverged sharply, two dominant pathways emerging. A future of awakening, where humanity transcends conflict and embraces unity. A future of collapse, where technology enslaves rather than liberates. The device could not tell which path would dominate. As the date approached, operators noticed increasing instability in the projections. Timelines once clear began to blur, distort, and fade. Some claimed the machine no longer functioned properly after the year 2012, as if time itself had shifted course. The future was no longer accessible, not because the device failed, but because the timeline had locked. By the late 1990s, Project Looking Glass was officially shut down. Or so they say. Records were sealed, facilities decommissioned, personnel reassigned.
Some claim the device was moved to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Others insist it remains buried beneath S4, silent but intact. But why was it truly shut down? Some say the visions became too disturbing, showing catastrophic wars, planetary upheaval, or mass extinction. Others believe the machine revealed truths the world wasn't ready to face. Whatever the reason, even in silence, Project Looking Glass left behind echoes. Echoes in the form of quantum computing, AI prediction models, and global simulation programs, all designed to forecast probability. And yet the same question remains. If you could see the future, would you change it? If you could change, then it's not showing your future.